Hey y'all, Uncle Paul here, and it's time to get in the arena with Uncle Paul. Stay tuned.
These words will never let me go. Oh no, these words will never let me go.
The Houston metro area has over 7 million people, and yet only one unfiltered source of news. And that's Grizzy's Hood News. Grizzy Castillo has built a platform of dedicated followers, helping her solve cases, find missing people, and cover stories that the mainstream networks just won't cover. When my nephew went missing, Grizzy was the first and only for the longest time to help us. She's become a pillar in the community, and now she's got a podcast, Hood News Unfiltered with Grizzy, that you can watch Saturday mornings at 9:30 a.m. on Houston CW or anytime at grizzyshoodnews.com. Grizzy works tirelessly to bring us content, sometimes funny, sometimes heartbreaking, and sometimes dangerous, which is why we have to support her sponsors. Go to grizzyshoodnews.com and find out how you can advertise, follow her on all the major social media platforms, or watch her anytime at grizzyshoodnews.com. If it's real news, it's Hood News. That's grizzyshoodnews.com. Hey y'all, Uncle Paul here. Today I have on the show Emily Rivera, mother of Xavier Degollado, who was shot dead at his corner convenience store. It's been 2 years and we don't have a ton of information, but here's the information we do have. Please subscribe, share the show, click in the description to see how you can support the show or support Emily. And without further ado, here's Emily Rivera. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
We're recording and we're live on Facebook. So let me make sure I get everything set up. This is my first time going live on a Zoom. So I'm just, yay, we're on and I can see us. Okay, awesome. Hi, Mama.
Hi.
Hi. Now, some of this I already know, but I'm going to be asking like I don't know for the audience. So they get caught. Y'all, I have on the live stream and the podcast, Miss Emily Rivera, mother of Xavier Degollado. Say hi, Mama.
Hi.
Hi. So let's see, we met through, my journey for justice with AJ. I believe we met on TikTok, no?
Right. I met Connie first, then me and you ended up running into each other.
Gotcha. So let's see here. And all right, well, let's just dive into it then. And your son is Xavier Degollado. Xavier's life was taken from us 2 years now?
Yes, February 28, 2022.
Ay, ay, ay. Well, let's go back to the beginning. When was Xavier born?
Xavier was born September 14, 2002.
What was it like going in labor with him?
Oh my God. At the time I was 17. I found I was pregnant the end of 16. I had him at 17, scared. Becoming a mom was like a new journey for me. I didn't know what to expect. I was scared and excited at the same time. I always wanted a girl. You're going to kill me for this. I always wanted a girl, but I was so excited when I found I was having a boy because I knew he would become my protector and to grow up and be a man. Mm-hmm.
You're gonna make me cry already. Well, I'm the big crybaby all over TikTok. So, but it's interesting you say you were pregnant with him at 17 because that's when my mom was pregnant with my sister. She was 17 when she had her. Come on, young mamas.
Right.
But what was that day like going into labor?
Actually, I started that night. I didn't know, I've never had a baby before and I didn't know what to expect. I was like, what is these pains? What is this? And we called the doctor. The doctor's like, well, you're in active labor. Come on in. But it was crazy. I was supposed to get induced that morning, but he ended up wanting to come that night. We went to the hospital. It was funny. I was walking down the hallways laughing, but an hour later, I was not laughing no more. I was like, it got real. I was in labor for 12 hours with him. I was really sick and I was like, oh my God, is this what happened? But yeah, 12 hours later, I had a beautiful baby boy. He was 7 pounds, 14 ounces.
Oh, mama. Baby boy and ready to come out.
Yeah, and he was 19 inches long, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 19 inches. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bless your heart.
He was ready to come. and when people have kids, it's only their partner, maybe their mom. No. I had my mom, her partner, my aunt, her partner, my uncle, my best friend, and my cousin, all in the room with me. Mm-hmm. So they all seen him come into the world.
Was Xavier's daddy a part of his life?
Yes, and Xavier's dad. I'm so sorry. Yes,
Okay.
Xavier's dad. He was
No
the one
worries.
holding the leg.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh. Well,
yeah.
was there? How was the pregnancy? Was it an easy pregnancy, or was since it was your first
Easy,
only?
easy, easy pregnancy. I had no complications, thank God. Everything went smooth.
Good. And what kind of baby was he like?
He was a fun little baby. He never really cried. Was just a he was perfect. He only cried when he wanted something, wanted his bottle, whatever the case was, but he was perfect. He it's like he knew us. Just being born, he knew us. I would talk, especially my cousin. She was always around me during my pregnancy. So when she would come in the room, he'll be in his swing. He'll look around. So he knew her voice. Yes. He was very active whenever I was pregnant, very, very active. And he was more active at night. So becoming an adult, he liked to be up late night.
And
So yeah.
what kind of student was he at school? Did he like school?
Oh,
More like a class clown?
I would say a class clown, and he did not like school. He was more of the kid that wanted to work.
Oh, I
He
hear that.
wanted to he wanted to skip that and jump into work. But I always explained to him education was important. But as he got, a certain age, I couldn't, force him anymore, you know. So I was like, okay, well, you don't want to go to school anymore. Let's get you out. You need to start working. And that's what he did. But he ended up getting into a little trouble. So I had to take him out of school. And he was gone for 3 months. And when he came home, he started working and he got his first job, and it was a Whataburger. And he started
Oh,
working.
little
Hmm.
hustler.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Did he get that from you? Have you always been like a hard worker, always hustling? Because you
Oh
get
yes.
me as that type.
Oh yes, yes. I've always told him there nothing in life is for free. You cannot depend on nobody, whether you have a partner or not. Even in a relationship, you have to do for yourself. Washing clothes, learning how to cook, working, and having that ambition. I told him I'm not going to always be around. You have to know what it's like to work, so you can get your car. Whatever the case is. And he he worked.
What were
He's
you? Oh,
Huh?
go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no, no. I mean, he didn't know the value of a dollar yet, but I was trying to teach him. You know how kids are.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Was his dad around, or did you raise him by
Oh,
your?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing about my son's father, once our relationship ended, he was an active father. He never was like, okay, well, we're not together. I don't want nothing to do with him. He loved his son. He was a great dad. He paid child support. He would get him on the weekends. I kind of had went through a rough patch in my life, so he ended up taking him for a few years. And Xavier was probably about 11 when he went with him. He came back to me when he was, I want to say 14 or 15. But I was still an active parent as well. I would see him, we shared custody of him. His dad was great. Great, great dad. I cannot say anything bad about him.
Oh, I actually love that. I love that. Let's see. What was your favorite memory of him growing up?
My favorite memory of him, just watching him turn into a man, from a little boy to a man, watching him learn how to figure things out on his own and not need me so much.
Oh, oh.
Yes. Watching him just change. Yes.
If you're watching on Facebook, I see y'all Facebook. But feel free to hop in the chat if you have any questions. We're interviewing Emily Rivera. She's the mother of Xavier Degollado, who is one of the members of the We Are AJ group. So I'm trying to get us all on the show at some point. So this is Emily's first time being interviewed by me. But I see you watching, so feel free to hop in the chat if you need to ask her or want to ask her any questions. Feel free to be interactive. Let's see. What were his dreams and ambitions?
To be honest, Xavier's dreams, he wanted to be a rapper. And a lot of people would be like, that's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. He loved music. He was in love with it. He loved music. He loved everything about it. He would say, Mom, that's what I want to be. I want to make money. I want to take care of you. I want to buy a house for you. You know, I don't want you to want for nothing. He used to tell me that all the time. And I used to tell him all the time, hey, anything's possible if you put your mind to it. Anything's possible. It just has to be you. It has to come from you. I can want it all day long for you, but it has to be you. But yes, he wanted to be very successful in whatever he did and make some money.
I wish you could say that again. I can want it all for you, but you have to want it for you. Baby, that's
Yeah.
a big life lesson. That is
That's anything, relationships, family, yourself, anything. You could want the person to change or to grab it, but it's up to them.
Girl. That's my amen. All right. Well, this is when we take the sad turn, but so where were you when you got the call that Xavier, or how did that day go for you, the day his life was taken?
That day, we were together the whole weekend. It was actually a perfect weekend, to be honest. My mom had a house fire, so she came to stay with us for the weekend. The whole weekend we stayed in, we watched movies. It was a perfect weekend, calm. You know me, I like to sip a little bit. So we were just all together. And that Monday, I woke up with the ugliest feeling. And I'm like, something's not right. I felt it. He had a little attitude that day. We kind of had a little argument, but that was that. I went to work. I want to say they came by my job about 4, maybe. My last memory of seeing Xavier, he was in the back seat and he put his head out the window. He's like, I love you, Mom. And that was the last time I seen my son. He called me, I want to say about 4:15. That was the last time I talked to him, but I hurried up and rushed him off the phone. I said, better go, I'm busy at work. I rushed him off the phone, and by 4:30, my son was gone. I didn't get the call until I want to say maybe 20 minutes to 8 p.m. And somebody called me, which was one of my friends. And she said, Emily, where's Xavier? I was like, he's at home. Why? She said, they unalived somebody at the apartment. First she said it was the apartment. It's my apartment. She's like, and they say it's Xavier. I'm like, what? I'm like, no. I'm like, he's at home. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll call him. I wasn't going to call, but something just didn't sit right with me. She always worried about Xavier, so she would always do this call and ask about him. Is he okay? Or whatever the case was. I called him. When he didn't answer the phone, I knew something was wrong. I actually called my mom and I'm like, hey, where's Xavier? She's like, he hasn't been here. I haven't seen him. I'm like, well, go outside. Something's going on. They're saying they unalive somebody and they're saying it's Xavier. She's like, don't say that. Well, by this time, my neighbors already caught wind. There were 2 older gentlemen that Xavier used to hang out with. They caught wind. So they were already outside with my stepmom. I'm going crazy over the phone, not knowing like what's going on. So I leave work. As I told my boss I have to go. I came home. When I got here, there was a whole bunch of cops, but it ended up being the store, not the apartment. I got off. I talked to a cop. He said the detective would be right over to talk to me. So that whole time, I'm just like, God, please, they just not let it be Xavier. Just this one time, just help my son. Just this one time, please. And the detective came over. He spoke with me, and he's like, "Why do you think it's your son?" And I said, "Well, he's not answering his phone. He doesn't ever go missing. Me and Xavier could have a knockout drag out. He's gonna answer that phone, whether he's yelling or mad, he's gonna answer." He didn't. And he said that the body didn't have identification. I said, well, I have his wallet. Like, let me go see. He's like, we can't do that. What if it's not your son? So I told him, well, he has a scar on his face. He had a scar right here. He hit a shipwreck when he was little. So he had a scar that stayed. And then he had a tattoo on his left hand as well. And when I said that, he looked at me and he's like, well, the victim does have that tattoo. In that moment, I've never felt pain like that. I've been hurt in my lifetime, but never like this. I started screaming and started yelling, and I had to get myself together. And the first call that I made was to his dad. And his poor dad, I'm yelling on the phone, and he was half asleep and he didn't understand what was going on. And I found out that Wednesday that it was my son.
Hmm. Whew. Um, what is going through your head in that moment? And I know this may sound really obvious, but like, what are you feeling? If you could describe it,
That night,
or just in that moment when the cop told you that he has those scars.
um, that my son was gone, that I was never gonna see the man he could have became. And I thought I had my whole life to make things better between us. We had a lot of things go on between us. And I felt like it was over, that I was never gonna get that chance. And that what could have my son did so bad that they had to take his life.
Hmm.
And then I was never gonna see him again. It all hit me at once.
Boy, even 2 years out, I gotta say you're still really, really strong. Because yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of grieving mothers, as you know, and I don't know that I've ever seen you break down. And I don't, I not saying I want you to, but it's still people say
I
2 years is a long time, but to me, it's not. Like it's still really
no.
fresh.
Yes, I do on my own time. I don't like people to see me vulnerable. That's one thing I cannot stand. Xavier was the same way.
You and
Xavier was
Connie, you and Connie are like that.
Yeah. Xavier was very much the same way. He did not like people to see him cry. And that night, though, I didn't care who was looking. I just couldn't believe it. So after that, the detective wrapped it up. We came back to the apartment. My two neighbors, um, before we came, they had already walked to the store. So when they came back, they knocked on my door and they told me that it was Xavier. And I'm like, how do you know? Somebody recorded Xavier on the floor and showed them. hmm And it was him. So even before Wednesday came around, I already knew it was Xavier. So,
Did they show you that video?
oh no.
Okay, I was
And
about to say.
I told all of them that they better not show nobody else, that I didn't want that going around. That was one thing that was most important to me, from his funeral to stuff like that, is I did not want that on social media. I did not want nobody to see that. I wanted my son to have his dignity and not to let people see how, he got taken from us.
I get that. I get that so much. Um, Now, what in those first few days, what information did you get from the police? What did they tell you, if they told you anything at all?
Nothing. I did
Nothing?
not. I don't think that I talked to the detective until a month after Xavier died.
A month?
Yes. In that moment, most parents are calling, calling, calling. But in that moment, I didn't even know how I was going to raise this money, how, planning a funeral. It was a lot. It was a lot. So I really wasn't too concerned at that moment. But yes, I didn't talk to him until a month later. And
God.
he didn't have very much information.
How did you piece together exactly what happened? What do you know that happened to Xavier?
Um, what my biggest perception that people think happened is that Xavier was hanging out at the corner store. That's not how it happened. That's not how it happened at all. Somebody called Xavier that day to go to the store. Xavier didn't even like walking to that store anymore. He didn't like going to that store. I would always go for him. So somebody ended up calling Xavier that day and making him come out. So I very much feel like they set my son up. So they were already waiting for my son at that store. The store owner had gave me, some information that um, they were there already. They were waiting for him. There was a camera at the store. And where they were standing on the other side. Where you seen it, where the apartments were. They were on the other side of that.
So the camera
Um,
pieced that area.
right. So there was a camera in the apartments and there was a camera at the store. So they pretty much seen Xavier, could see them, but really couldn't see them, but they were
Gotcha.
there. You know, the apartments had cameras as well. but they were very grainy, so they really couldn't see if it was a female, if it was a male, because they were also wearing masks.
Of course.
Mhm, mhm.
And for the audience that's never been there, so this is in South Houston, right?
Southeast, Broadway.
Near Hobby? I can't
Yeah,
remember. Near Hobby.
right at the ramp of Hobby.
So for those that aren't from Houston, this is it's right around Hobby Airport. Would you say it's predominantly Latino, the area?
I want to say it's a little bit of both,
Right.
of Mexican and blacks.
Any witnesses, anyone that saw anything?
Of course, everybody saw something,
Yeah.
but nobody's willing to talk. I already knew kind of the situation that he had going on. I'm not going to say no names because of my safety, but I already knew there was some drama going on. Xavier was very private. He didn't like to put me into anything that was going to get me hurt. Xavier didn't want me to know much. And even as him being gone, I've had a lot of readings. He still doesn't want me to know. But I knew that he had a situation going on with somebody that he was very close with. Very, very close with this person. And he had some issues with them and their partner. And I sometimes feel, I really can't say, but I know they know. They know. They know what happened to my son. Um, there's just no way that y'all didn't know. You're the one that made the call that it was my son. They called me that night as well and asked me, was it my son? I said, you made the call, didn't you? And they said, yes. I said, okay. So yes, it was my son. Don't call my phone ever again. And I hung up on them because they knew. They knew.
So so I'm making sure I understand correctly. Are you thinking that he was betrayed by friends?
Um,
Friends.
yes. Yes. Yes.
It's crazy how much our cases are alike in that way. AJ was 19. Xavier's middle name is Alexander, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, he
Yep.
the last time. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little kooky, but for those that might be watching or listening for the first time, I am a psychic medium. I hate that label. Um, but my angel number is 19 because my brother and AJ were both taken at 19. The last phone call you got from Xavier was at 4:15, which 4 plus 15 is 19. I always pay attention to numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Weird thing. But then you said he was betrayed by friends, and I know damn well AJ was betrayed by his cousins. And my brother Michael was betrayed by his friends. There's a lot of betrayal in Houston sometimes. Uh,
Right.
what? Okay, so it's been 2 years. Did
Mm-hmm.
did you get any more information from police from that first month to the 2 year mark?
No.
So where does the case stand
We
at now?
talked the last time that I talked to the detective, it was me personally talked to him. It was a year before it turned a year for Xavier. That was the last time I talked to him. He said that he had no intention of closing his case yet. He has his cell phone, that there was a number that popped up, but they just couldn't get an address to it. Come to find out, there was a big update in January of this year of Xavier's case.
Yeah.
He's never reached out. That they did have a suspect, but the suspect is deceased. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
How does that
But
feel?
um I feel, as a mom, I know how it feels.
Hmm.
Looking at from their mom. But I feel that when you do bad things, it comes around sometimes. It comes around when you do bad things. I'm not saying by any means that, oh, I'm happy he's gone. No, because that's never what I wanted. I wanted to face them. I wanted our day in court, but there's still another boy. There was two boys that night. So I always just wanted, to face them and to look at them. And, they're all so young. I kind of find myself feeling sorry for them because they're all so young. You ruined your life to take somebody else's life. For what?
Hmm.
For
Oh,
what? For what? What was that important? that you felt like you had to take my son away. You weren't God. Whatever Xavier did bad in his life, God was going to judge him. You had no right to take my son from me and to judge my son. No, you know? So I just have mixed emotions on how I feel. I kind of feel sadness and, sad for them because they're young, but then I hate them too because they took the best part of me. And that was him.
And Xavier was your only child.
Yes. Yes.
All right, I just had to sit with that for just a minute. That's a lot. So do we how sure are you that okay, so there's two boys. How sure are you that the one that's deceased was involved? Do we know that for sure? Or are we like
Yes. He posted a lot after Xavier passed away. He posted a lot of information on social media. So yes, I'm positive.
can we
I
talk
can't
about this? Um People, I think I don't know if it's well, no, I do know it's a psychological thing. Um, that people often want to get caught, even if they're bragging. It's like there's this like what is it called? I can't think of what it's called. My brain is not working so great today. Don't ever do drugs. I'm still healing. But but it's just like psychological. Subconsciously, they want to get caught, even when they're bragging. And there's a thing about like teenagers especially that love to do these heinous acts, these violent, horrible acts, and then take
yeah,
to social media and brag about it as if this is not a person that they're talking about. I've seen that a lot with AJ's case, and now, okay, so one of them is gone. Now, does that feel like justice for you? That
no.
no, I didn't think so.
I feel like that's the easy way out, to me. Um, you don't have to deal with no consequences. You don't have to deal with the aftermath of what you did. No. I don't feel like that's justice at all.
So, do you?
I'm a firm believer when you do wrong things, and I've always told my son, if you do something bad, I'm not turning you into the cops. Now, if they come find you, I'm gonna let them take you because they ain't taking me. But if you do something bad, you have to pay for what you did, regardless of what it is. I always told him that. You're grown enough to do the act, you're gonna be grown enough to do the time. I'm always gonna be by your side, no matter what it is, but you have to pay. That's how I feel. They have to pay.
Hmm. So, am I hearing you say that if the other one is convicted, that you don't want the death penalty for them?
No, that's an easy way out.
I
I
couldn't
want you to do
agree
it too.
more. People have asked me this throughout my life, like, well, if you take someone's life, then you should get your life taken. I don't believe anyone has the right to take anyone's life. I've never
No,
believed it. But I also
no.
don't feel like, yeah, that because, for me, death happens in that instant, and you're gone.
Yes,
So you don't have to
right,
live with the guilt. You don't have to feel the shame. You don't have to look in the mother's eyes and see them crying, like because we're all still here, like, and our lives are
right,
still sometimes very miserable. Not all the time, but sometimes we're just in the shit. And I want you to be
right,
in the shit too. Like I don't
right,
want to
right,
be gone. Like
right.
but
I
yeah,
100% get that. Yes. I just feel it's just very sad because Xavier was not a bad kid. He made mistakes. He made a lot of mistakes, but he ended up getting a really great job with his dad. He was making really good money, and he loved it. He had a girlfriend. He was changing in so many ways and becoming different. He said, "Mom, I he had a GUN. He got rid of it. He said, "Mom, I don't ever want to have to use it. I'm done with this. I want to be better. I want to grow up." And it's always when people are trying to change, something bad happens to them. And he had got laid off in January. We were just waiting for him to go back to work. He did not make it back. He didn't make it back. And it just, it frustrates me on how long everything's taking because this takes a toll on me. People may see me, oh, I post pictures, I'm happy. You don't know how many times I had to talk myself out of getting out of bed, making myself put makeup on, making myself feel better. And especially the first few months after, I didn't think I was going to make it. I didn't think I was going to make it. I thank God for his dad and his wife. They really, they really helped me. They helped me through the funeral. They helped me through the days after. I'm very thankful for them. Very, very thankful. And for her family too. I'm very thankful for them. And his friends, they were always around. For a long time they came and they were always with me. I don't think I could have made it without them, to be honest. It was a lot.
Shout out to them. As sad as that is, I also think it's really beautiful that you have that kind of relationship with Xavier's father and his
Mhm.
stepmom. Um,
Yes.
that's beautiful. You don't hear that often. You don't hear that
You
often.
know, I mean, we came a long way. We're not perfect. We all had, we've had our ups and downs. We've had our ups and downs. And one thing that always sticks out to me about her is his stepmom is at the funeral, she was trying to be so strong for me and, Xavier's dad. She was holding back her tears and just trying to be there for us. And we had a moment at his casket. I said, look, I know we didn't always get along, but you loved Xavier as much as I did, so I have to respect you for that. And Xavier loved you. And she just broke down. She started crying. And I was like, it's okay. You're hurting as well. I can't take that from you. Xavier was a part of your life for a long time. So I cannot take that. I think Xavier was, I want to say 3, maybe 4 when maybe they got together. I really don't remember. It was a long time ago, but Xavier was young. So she was in Xavier's life for a long time. And I have to respect her because I'm not always easy to put up with, you know. I respect her and I thank God that we've gotten to this place. And even after Xavier being gone, I can always reach out to them if I need to.
Love that. I love that. You said something a moment ago. Damn it, what was it? My short-term memory is so bad these days. You said something right before the funeral, and I wanted to go back to. I should have written it down. It was a connection between our two cases, but I can't remember what it was. Híjole. Well, my brain is just not where I want it to be. But you said something that struck me, my God, about AJ, but I can't remember what it was. Okay. Well, when it comes
Welcome
back
back.
to me, yeah, it'll come back to me. So even though you were on the news, on the CW, they put you as my sister. They totally
Right.
messed up the video. So technically, you haven't received any news coverage. Um,
No,
your story hasn't received any news coverage. How does that feel?
it makes me feel like they don't care because Xavier was unalived in not so great neighborhood. Um, had it happened somewhere else, I feel like, or Xavier would have been another race. And I don't mean to make it that way, but that's very
No,
much true.
that's the reality.
It's the reality that we live in. Um, then maybe it would have, he would have made the news. When the news came out, they did air it, but he was not named. He was basically a victim,
He was referred
and
to as a body.
right. And that just because that's not, he was more than that. He was my son. He was Xavier. He was somebody's friend, you know, um, somebody's grandson. And how dare y'all, so that pretty much, that bothered me a lot.
I it bothers me too. Now AJ has gotten a lot of coverage, but we fought like hell for that. But
Right.
even still, Xavier got zero, zero, nothing. Taylor Clark,
Zero.
nothing. Um, and that pisses me off to no end. To no end.
Mhm.
Now what? Obviously, the one of his killers is gone.
Mhm.
What would you say to the other one if you had anything to say to him or them?
I've thought about that a lot. To be honest, I don't know. I why maybe, how did you look my son in his face and take his life? You know, I there's a lot of things that I want to say that I can't say out here, but
Oh, you can say them.
That's just, you know, I hate them. And, somebody told me not that long ago on TikTok that I shouldn't say that I hate them, that I should forgive them. No, I can't.
Let me go
Sometimes
there. Let me go there real quick. I need people to hear someone that's been in therapy and treatment for a minute. You don't have a right to tell anyone else how to feel, ever.
Mhm,
Emily, Miss Emily here, is allowed to feel hatred. She's allowed to feel sadness. She can feel happy if she wants to. You have
mhm.
no right to tell anyone how to feel, especially a grieving mother. If you're not a grieving mother and you've never been through what Emily's been through, shut the fuck up.
For real.
I mean that in the most
Shut the fuck
spiritual,
up.
Jesus kind of way. Um, People always trying to tell people how to heal from something they've never been through, and that pisses
Exactly.
me off.
Right.
Whew. So,
It,
because people would tell me early on, especially on TikTok, "Oh, how dare you be happy your nephew was just murdered?" As if I don't know. um, I'm like,
right. As
"What am
if
I
you
not
don't
allowed to
deal with it
smile?"
every night. Right.
And then if
It-
I'm sad, then oh, it's been too long. You're still sad. I'm like,
right.
let me fucking feel.
You know what, and that's crazy you say that, because in the beginning, the earliest stages, like of Xavier passing away, I didn't know how to feel. I felt guilty being happy. I felt guilty eating. I felt, when people pass away, people want to bring you food, and that's all everybody did. Bless my best friend. She brought me Burger King that day, and I'm like, girl, I cannot eat this. I couldn't eat. My other friend brought me Chipotle. I had food for days and I just couldn't do it. I could not do it. I even remember after his funeral, I stayed up. I don't even remember how long I stayed up, but I stayed up, having some drinks because I did not want to feel. And I sat there and I cried so hard that that was going to be the last time that I see my son. And I just couldn't accept it. I still, to this day, it's been 2 years. I cannot accept the fact that my son's gone. I know he's gone, but I can't accept it because he had so much life. He was only 19 years old. He would have been 21. And I had so many plans for when he turned 21. I was like, yes, you can come to the bar with me. You can be my designated driver. He didn't drink, of course. I just had so many plans for him. And it's just, I feel like they took my best friend away. And I don't think that I'm ever gonna be the same, ever.
Do you ever see yourself having another child?
No. People always say, maybe it would be best, but I cannot replace what I lost. No matter how much I try, I can't replace it. So no, I thought about it, but no.
Mm. Now I know we talked, I forget how long ago it was, but you were getting some threats on social media or taunting by maybe some folks that were involved. Has that still been going on? Is it still going
No. The crazy thing is when they would do stuff like that, they've never reached out to me personally. They would always put it on social media and somebody would send it to me that seen it, that knew Xavier. But no, this time they sent it straight to me. But no, I don't even respond. I
on?
don't respond. I just ignore it because y'all some little punk ass little kids anyway. So, you
Okay.
know, I
And
just don't.
how long after Xavier's death did you return to work? And because I know, Mama, you're a hard worker. Every time I talk to you, you're at work. But um,
Oh no.
you're
Um, the first week he passed away, I was out of work. I don't know if I did like a week. I took a week off, then went back and then took another week off. I think I did 2 weeks straight. I was out. I returned like 2 weeks later, probably. But I didn't stay the first day that I made it back. I couldn't. Couldn't.
Does it help you to stay busy now, though, on those days that when you're
Yes.
busy?
Oh, very much so. Yes. It makes me feel better to be at work. One of my flight attendants, she made me a blanket of Xavier's face and I have it hanging here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
Do you have anything to say to Houston police or the new mayor, Mayor Whitmer? Anything you would tell them about crime in Houston, about unsolved murders, about anything?
That they're all people, and no matter their lifestyle, they all need justice. That it's not fair that, you know, some of them go on years without getting justice. There's people missing and y'all still haven't found them. They all matter regardless of their lifestyle, regardless of their race, regardless of how they looked, regardless if they did 1,000 bad things in their life. They're all human and they all need justice regardless.
Mm. Whew, Mama, well, this went by really, really fast.
I
Um,
know.
is there anything else you want to say or anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Mm-mm. Just that I want everybody to know that my son was a great person, a very giving person, a very helpful person. He would do anything for anybody. That he wasn't, a punk off the street, that he wasn't, Xavier went to the store that day knowing something could happen, but Xavier had a lot of heart, very much. So I would tell him all the time, that's going to get you hurt, son. You cannot always be like that. He said, Mom, I'm never going to let nobody scare me, ever. And my son he just was a great person.
Oh, Mama. Well, I'm gonna get off of here and start crying because that's what I do. But I love you so much. So this live is posted immediately. I'm gonna take it and make it into an audio podcast so you can listen to it. But it is posted right now. So if you want to go share it, by all means, go share it. If you want to cut it up and put it on TikTok, I don't care. I'm not that guy that tells you can't use this content. But Mama, I love you so much. I will visit you at some point because I do want to do a press conference. But I will be in touch when we get more information about that.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Love you.
Okay,
Justice for
love you
Xavier.
too. Justice for Xavier.
Bye.
Thank you again to Emily for sharing your story. Y'all click in the description to see how you can get involved and help. Please, 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 please support the show, share the show. And until next time, y'all, stay in the light.